Our headliner tonight is Varun Nigam. Varun has become obsessed with the idea of helping people become the best version of themselves. In his time outside of school, Varun was able to build a global sales team of nearly 900 distributors, creating an event production company hosting 1,000+ attendants, and built a nonprofit, the You Before Me Foundation, serving 500+ underprivileged in his community. He also created a speaker coaching workshop. Within academia, Varun has focused his attention on the pre-dental tract. He's hosted interview workshops for students applying to postgraduate programs, including dentistry, nursing, accounting, and culinary arts. His workshops currently hold a 100% acceptance rate for the students that have attended his programs. Varun has taken a non-traditional route, which has led to the acceptance to multiple dental schools. He'll be attending the University of Kentucky College of Dentistry and graduating in 2021 as a practicing dentist. Please join me in welcoming back to the Spark stage, Varun Nigam.
You may be wondering how in the world could a simple grammatical notation, like a question mark, save someone's life? Well, to be honest, I have no idea. Because if I did know that idea, and if I did have an answer, we wouldn't waste time. I'd give you a 30-minute response to my opinion, and then we could exchange about 10 minutes of awkward silence between you and I. But to spare you that, and instead of inculcating you all with my opinion of this answer, I want to use your opinions. I want to use your personal narratives and your experience to come up with a more wholesome answer. And I want to take that approach for two reasons. The first reason is collaboration creates conversation, doesn't it? It breeds contrasting ideas, and it comes up with a more wholesome answer. The second reason I'd like to use your opinion to come up with an answer is if you don't happen to like my answer that I share today, you can blame the person next to you. So let me tie a story with this question to give it context. In fall of 2010, a young man at the age of 17 was offered the deal of a lifetime. He had college paid for, a guaranteed spot in a prestigious dental school, a guaranteed salary following graduation, and a lifestyle and career that right now in the U.S. is being rated as the #1 career to pursue, dentistry. He declines the offer. And he decides to go out of state because maybe an out-of-state tuition will bring him fulfillment, right? And he decides to say, you know what, I want to pursue the best 4 years of my life my way. So he goes out of state. But then something happens. In fall 2013, he drops out of college, just after 2 years in college. And it wasn't because of low grades. That wasn't the problem. But he had an opportunity to build his own business. Let's call it the Millennial Dream. And so he leaves college. He puts down the textbooks, and without any experience or formal training in business, and actually a B- in public speaking, he leaves college and falls into the world of entrepreneurship. But then something else happens. In fall of 2015, he puts everything on hold. The success that he's gotten to in his personal success, financially and personally, he puts it on a hold like a freight train and goes off the grid. And he returns back to school and retake those classes he once walked out on. And in fall of 2017 of this year, that same individual will have the opportunity to be honored at the white coat ceremony of the school that he was admitted to as a dental student. Now, here's my question to you all, and I do require a bit of participation if we can do that tonight. How would you define this person? I'll give you some ideas. Lost, maybe? Anyone have ideas? Misled? Indecisive? Did someone say smart? Intelligent? An entrepreneur? Confused? I mean, there's plenty of reasons that you could describe this person as being the way you would like to describe this person. But here's what I think. I bet that this individual, for the sake of him, couldn't answer the most asked question in the entire world. Tell me about yourself. But then again, isn't it interesting that the most conventional question in the world often breeds the most unconventional answer, doesn't it? And how do you tell someone about yourself? Do you tell them your past results? Do you tell them about your potential, about your goals? Can you really tell someone who you are until first understanding who you are not? I mean, these are some of the questions that have been asked for generations. These have been the questions that have been puzzling mankind since the start of time. What's yin without yang? What's good without bad? What's Ken without Barbie? And what is normal without abnormal? I mean, if you think about the development of modern medicine, Hippocrates, who's known as the father of medicine, followed the same thought process. He didn't understand normal anatomy and physiology until he first understood disease, For instance, a patient would walk into an office with shortness of breath, let's say, and the doctor would diagnose what was going on. And upon finding the root of the cause of the problem, he then only, and only then, could define what normal anatomy and physiology could be. Does that make sense? So he understood how the body should work by first understanding how the body shouldn't work, couldn't work, will not work. And if you haven't put two and two together, that story I told you earlier about the charming young man, that story was about me. And this was the question that I got asked repeatedly at every single dental interview. Varun, why did you leave school? We all have those inner desires, right, to go against the grain. It's the side of you and I that dares to ask those questions. What if I quit my job? What if she says yes? What if it works? That was the voice that was speaking to me when I decided to leave school. It wasn't because of grades. I had an opportunity to build a business. And in those years off of school, we did amazing things. Exponential growth personally and financially. I mean, we built a huge sales team spanning the globe. We built an event company educating young entrepreneurs on financial literacy. We were even featured on a TEDx talk for our efforts with the You Before Me Foundation, our philanthropy here in the Midwest. So that's why I left school. You know, my life has always had a certain sense of certainty. I went to high school, I did well. I went to college, I did well. I joined the fraternity. I got involved. I followed the rules. I listened to my parents. But I wanted to rebel. The shoe fit on paper, but I wanted a new pair of shoes. The grass did look greener on the other side. And that is a regret that people often mention, isn't it? It's, I wish I had spent a little more time doing the things I love. And I, for one, wanted to live a life of oh wells instead of what if. Has anyone wanted that? Exactly. And with all this momentum and with all this perceived success, why in the world would someone who happens to have this type of story return back to school? Why would someone go from be your own boss to buy your own textbook? Why would we do that? Why would I do that? Well, I think the first answer comes with swallowing my own pride. I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that we've all felt a time in our life where we've quit or we failed something, not because we weren't capable, but because maybe it wasn't for us. The problem was you told the world, you put up the Facebook status, you tweeted it all over the place that you were going to achieve this goal, and then you didn't. But maybe the reason for that is because in the moment you decided that that might be your passion to pursue, it sounded really exciting until you got on board and pursued it and realized, you know, that's not for me. And you're not wrong in thinking that. But that's what I had to do when I swallowed my pride and went back to school. You know, there's these small moments in life where you have an opportunity to switch everything, these snap moments. And this was one of those moments. You know, I took the entrepreneurship route. I tried to gain money faster, tried to gain success faster, tried to grow up quite quickly. And in my own way, I had a midlife crisis at age 20, so I call it like a quarter life crisis. And that's what I went through. And it gave me insight. It really did. I learned one thing about humans. While some humans seem a bit selfish, I think intuitively and instinctually, we're selfless beings, right? That's why you and I are in this room tonight, because we want to contribute to something bigger than ourselves. Isn't that true? That we want to set a legacy more than we could ever want to set a currency. That's what gets you up in the morning. It's not the coffee. It's not your baby crying. It's not your dog threatening to pee on your couch if you don't take them out at 4 a.m. in the morning. It's that. And I learned that. And what I did learn outside of my time outside of academia is just because you choose one path, that does not negate you from doing something else. It only augments it. And that's what I learned. And that's why I decided to go back to the traditional route, even though I felt weird being in class as a number instead of outside of class making numbers. But I took the leap both ways, and I think it worked out. I guess you all will be the judge of that. And what I'd like to have you all understand is life is but merely a string of moments bound together by a common theme. That's your common theme. Don't underestimate those shortcomings. Don't underestimate those hiccups in the road, those sidesteps, those unorthodox decisions. In fact, lean into them. Lean into the hiccups. Explore the what-ifs, even if it ends up saying, oh, well. Because that's what you learn. And to be honest, this question will be the question you will be asked for the rest of your life, whether it is you yourself asking yourself that question or if it is someone else. And I think if you can explore what you're not, who you're not, what you do not like, it makes this answer much simpler and makes your decisions much smoother, and you can proceed with a certain sense of certainty, can't you? But the question that I most get asked nowadays by my mother, by my father, by my teachers, by all of my colleagues who are a bit older, is a question I want to ask you all today. Based on what you heard tonight, would you ever, in your entire life, if you had the opportunity, let your kid drop out of school? And I hope that changed your perspective. Thank you so much.